The Minnesota Vikings will visit the Atlanta Falcons in NFL Week 13 action on Sunday. Entering the season, most people thought that the Vikings might have a shot at earning a playoff berth, but they probably didn't expect that the Vikings would be the second best team in the NFC and running away with the division. Minnesota has won 6 games in a row, and last week they went into Detroit and beat the Lions 30-23. Even better for their backers, the Vikings have also won 6 straight against the spread and are now 8-3 against the spread on the season. On the flip side, the Atlanta Falcons find themselves embroiled in a tight race in the NFC South. Things looked a little dicey a few weeks back, but winning 4 of their last 5 games has given them the momentum and put them in a much better position to challenge for the NFC South title or claim a wildcard spot. Last week, the Minnesota Vikings got off to a fast start and managed to hold off the Lions, thanks in part to a timely interception with under 4 minutes left in the game. They can also thank their lucky stars that after Detroit blocked a 25-yard field goal attempt and returned it for a touchdown, it was nullified due to an offside call against the Lions. Whatever the circumstances, a win is a win, and now they are 9-2 and looking like a lock for the division. Case Keenum completed 21 of 30 pass attempts for 282 yards and a pair of touchdowns. He now has 14 touchdown passes against just 5 picks, and he's sporting a 96.2 quarterback rating. Keenum has been impressive, completing 66.1% of his passes while averaging 7.5 yards per completion. He should have a harder time, though, exploiting the Falcons' pass defense that is allowing 207.9 yards per game and 6.4 yards per carry. Last week, it was Thielen who caught 8 of 11 passes for 89 yards, while Diggs hauled in 5 of 7 for 66 yards. However, it was tight end Kyle Rudolph who Keenum found in the end zone twice. Minnesota will need to use their rush attack, which averages 124.5 yards per game and 4 yards per carry, as Atlanta allows 113.9 rushing yards and 4.4 yards per carry. The thing is that Atlanta has been lights out when it comes to limiting long runs, and slow and steady usually wins the race. Just as the Detroit Lions were desperate for a win last week, the same can be said about the Atlanta Falcons this week. The Vikings see the second least rushing yards per game at 75.5, and they also yield the second lowest yards per carry at 3.4, so it's going to be very tough for the Falcons to get it going on the ground. They average 116.8 rushing yards per game at a rate of 4.4 yards per carry. It's a good thing that they have a formidable pass attack. Matt Ryan hasn't had the offensive numbers that he's enjoyed in past years, but he's completing 67.6% of his passes at 8 yards per completion. He has tossed 16 touchdown passes against 8 picks and boasts an 89.9% quarterback rating. His receiving corps is very good, and it's highlighted by Julio Jones, who is coming off a spectacular 253-yard performance in which he scored a pair of touchdowns. It will be the air attack that Atlanta will need to come through in this game. Minnesota still has above-average pass defense, which allows 214.9 yards per game and 6.5 yards per attempt. It should be mentioned that both teams do an excellent job of protecting their quarterbacks, and both defenses are comparable in the sacks department. Both teams also have good kickers that can hit from beyond 50 yards. One thing that should be considered is that Minnesota is better rested and has had more time to prepare because they last played on Thursday, while Atlanta played on Sunday. Another thing to consider is the fact that both teams have been scoring a lot of points in the last few weeks, and they've both been beating the spread. This game obviously means more to Atlanta, but wanting it more is not always enough, and these two teams are fairly evenly matched. Our pick and prediction will be for the Minnesota Vikings to win this game outright, and for the game to go under the total of 47 points.